My beloved, I need you to pause everything right now. Not in a moment. Not after you finish what you are doing. Right now, put down whatever is in your hands. Silence the noise around you. Let the world fade for just a few minutes, because what I am about to speak cannot be mixed with distraction. This message is not for the masses. It is not a general word meant to uplift crowds or inspire strangers. This is between you and me alone, face to face, heart to heart. No one else is listening to what I am about to say because no one else needs to hear it the way you do. This moment has your name written into it. Before you were born, before your struggles had language, before your questions formed into words, I marked this exact second. I knew you would be here. I knew what you would be carrying in your heart. I knew the weight pressing on your shoulders. I knew how close you would be to walking away from hope, from believing, from trying one more time. And I waited. I have been patient. I have been intentional. I have been waiting for your heart to become still enough, broken enough, and open enough to receive what I am about to speak. That is why you are here now, not by chance, not by random scrolling, not because you were looking for something spiritual. You are here because I brought you here. You are not here by accident. You did not stumble into this moment because you were scrolling mindlessly or searching for inspiration. I brought you here. I interrupted your thoughts. I halted your distractions. I created this meeting because there is something you need to hear that cannot wait any longer. This is not motivation. This is not encouragement in the way you are used to receiving it. This is precision. This is personal. If you did not exist, these words would not exist. They were formed around your story, your pain, your questions, and your future. That is how specific this is. I need you to understand something crucial. I waited for this precise moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Now there were moments in your past when you were not ready to hear this. Your heart was too guarded. Your mind was too busy defending itself. Your spirit was too fragile to hold what I am placing before you now. If I had spoken then, you would have misunderstood me. You would have heard condemnation instead of invitation. You would have felt pressure instead of love. So I waited. I have been patient. I have been intentional. And now finally, the timing is right. Do not brush this off. Do not tell yourself you will come back to it later. Later is not the same as now. Moments like this carry weight that cannot be recreated. You can choose to ignore what I am offering, but ignoring it will cost you something. Neutrality does not exist here. You either step into what I am giving you, or you step away from something that was designed specifically for your transformation. I am not saying this to manipulate you. I am saying this because truth matters and timing matters. Heaven does not arrange divine appointments carelessly. Every circumstance, every delay, every distraction that brought you to this point was orchestrated. Angels were not guessing. This was planned. If you are still reading, if your heart is still open, leave a comment below and say, I receive this word. Let that be your agreement with what is unfolding. Now listen closely. I see the fear rising in you, that familiar tightness in your chest, that instinct to protect yourself. Let me speak directly to that fear. You are not in trouble. You are not being judged. You are not being tested to see if you measure up. You are being invited. There is a difference. Fear tells you to hide. Love tells you to come closer. And I am asking you to come closer now. Not because you have earned it. Not because you have been perfect. But because I see you, I see all of you. The version you show to the world and the version you hide even from yourself. The strong you and the exhausted you. The hopeful you and the one who has been disappointed too many times to count. I see that person. And I am not turning away. This is not about religion. Strip away the rituals, the expectations, the rules you think you have to follow. This is about connection. This is about you and me in a space where performance does not matter. You do not have to prove anything here. You do not have to pretend you have it all together. I already know you do not, and I love you anyway. Something shifts the moment you stop protecting yourself and start receiving. Not when you finish reading these words, but when your heart softens instead of bracing for impact. When you allow yourself to believe, even just a little, that I am speaking directly into your life, Inner transformation happens before outer change. Seeds are planted in silence before anything breaks through the soil. Right now, something is being planted in you that will alter the trajectory of everything. Do you remember when it was just you and me? There was a season when the noise of the world faded, and your heart became tender toward me. You did not need elaborate words. Sometimes you sat in silence and felt my presence wrap around you like a blanket. Sometimes tears came without explanation, falling freely without shame. Sometimes longing filled you so deeply that you could not articulate it. But you knew I was there. You knew you were not alone. I remember those moments. I treasure them more than you can imagine. You spoke to me honestly then. You did not rehearse your prayers or practice what to say. You did not try to sound spiritual or use religious language. You just came as you were, broken, questioning, uncertain, messy, and I met you there. There were moments when you wept and I wept with you. Moments when you felt lost and I carried you without you even realizing it. Moments when you sat in your car before going inside because you needed a few more minutes with me. Moments when you whispered my name in the dark and felt peace settle over you. You did not need proof back then. You did not need everything explained or understood. You sensed my nearness, and that was enough. Faith felt simple, not because life was easy, but because closeness made the hard things bearable. My presence made the unbearable somehow endurable. I want you to know that those moments were not imagined. They were not emotional highs that faded with time or wishful thinking that dissolved in daylight. They were real. They mattered, and they still matter. Nothing about our connection then was false. It was authentic communion. It was you responding to me freely before fear and noise and disappointment learned how to interrupt. Before life taught you to guard your heart. Before you learned that vulnerability can lead to pain. If this is stirring something in you, if you remember those moments too, type Amen in the comments. Let me know you are still listening. You may wonder why that closeness faded. You may feel sadness when you think about how near I used to feel. You may question what you did wrong or where you failed. Hear me gently now. I am not blaming you. I am not disappointed. I understand what happened, and I want you to understand it too without shame. Life did not pull you away all at once. It was gradual. Responsibilities increased. Disappointments stacked up. Questions multiplied. You learned to protect yourself. You learned to survive. And survival became louder than surrender. Doubt crept in quietly, not all at once, but steadily. Thoughts filled the spaces where silence used to live. Worry replaced rest, pressure replaced peace, and intimacy with me became harder, not because I withdrew, but because your heart grew tired. You did not stop loving me. You did not stop believing. You became consumed with trying to hold everything together, and in that striving you lost the simplicity of just being with me. Then loneliness settled in, a kind of loneliness that is hard to describe, because it exists even when you are surrounded by people. You felt unseen, unheard, misunderstood. You carried weight that no one else seemed to notice. You kept showing up, kept serving, kept being strong for everyone else. But inside, you were collapsing. You became skilled at wearing masks. You learned how to smile at the right moments, how to answer questions with surface responses, how to keep conversations light when your heart felt heavy. You did not want to worry anyone. You did not want to seem needy or broken. You did not want to be the one who always needed help. So you showed up composed, capable, steady, even when something inside you was fracturing. And while others admired your strength, they did not see the cost of it. They did not see the nights when you finally allowed yourself to cry. You cried alone. You cried into pillows so no one would hear. You cried in the shower where the sound of water could mask the sound of your breaking. You wiped your tears quickly in case someone walked in. Sometimes you cried without knowing exactly why. The tears came from accumulation, disappointments piled on disappointments, unspoken grief layered on silent fear, frustrations that had nowhere to go, pain that had no name. You cried because holding it together all day left no strength for the night. You cried because you were tired of being strong. You cried because you longed to be held instead of always being the one holding others together. There were moments when you sat in the dark and wondered if anyone truly saw you, not the version you presented to the world, but the real you, the struggling you, the questioning you. The one who did not have all the answers. You felt invisible in rooms full of people. You felt alone even when surrounded by family. You felt misunderstood even by those who claimed to know you best. And that kind of loneliness cuts deeper than physical isolation because it exists in the presence of others. In those moments when you felt most abandoned, I was there, not watching from a distance like a spectator in the stands, not observing from heaven with detached concern. I was close, closer than your next breath, closer than you realized. I sat with you in the darkness. I felt every ache in your chest. I knew every thought racing through your mind as you stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m, wondering if anyone truly saw you. I heard every silent scream that never made it past your lips. I caught every tear before it hit the ground. You may have felt forsaken, but you were never alone. Even when you could not sense me, I was present. Even when my voice seemed silent, I was speaking in ways you would understand later. Every tear you cried was collected. Not one was wasted. Not one went unnoticed. I knew which tears came from exhaustion, which came from disappointment, which came from betrayal, which came from longing to be understood. I knew which tears were anger and which were surrender. And I did not rush you to stop crying. I did not tell you to be stronger or pull yourself together. I did not shame you for your emotions. I let you release because release is not weakness. Release is honesty. Tears are prayers that words cannot contain. They are the language of a heart that has carried too much for too long. You needed someone to see you, not the version you show others, but the real you, the tired you, the hurting you, the confused you, the one who kept going even when it hurt, the one who smiled in public and cried in private. I saw that version of you before anyone else did. I saw you when you felt invisible. I saw you when your efforts went unnoticed and unappreciated. I saw you when your kindness was taken for granted. I saw you when you questioned whether anyone would care if you stopped trying so hard. I saw you when you wondered if your presence mattered to anyone at all. If you have ever felt this, if you know what it is to cry alone, comment and share this message. Someone else needs to know they are not the only one. I want to validate your pain. What you felt was real. Loneliness hurts, especially when you are surrounded by people. Being strong all the time is exhausting. Crying alone leaves marks on the soul that do not fade quickly. You were not imagining it. You were not being dramatic. You were responding to a real need that went unmet for too long. There were moments when you wished someone would ask how you truly were, and wait long enough to hear the answer. Moments when you wanted permission to rest, to fall apart, to be held instead of holding everything together. You may have felt guilty for wanting that. You told yourself you should be grateful for what you had. But longing for connection does not mean you are ungrateful. It means you were created for relationship, and I was present in every moment you thought you were invisible, when you sat quietly while others talked around you. When you helped everyone else but felt no one helping you, when you gave encouragement while desperately needing it yourself. I saw you. I honored those moments, even when no one thanked you, even when no one acknowledged what it cost just to be there. You may wonder why I did not remove that loneliness sooner. Why I did not send someone at the exact moment you needed them. Hear me with compassion. I was working in ways you could not see. I was shaping your heart to recognize depth. I was teaching you the difference between being surrounded and being connected. I was preparing you to value real presence, including mine, in a way that would last. You were never unseen. You were held in moments when you felt forgotten. You were comforted even when you felt empty. You were loved even when you doubted your worth. Let this truth settle inside you now. I see you fully. I see the strength it took to survive quietly. I see the courage it took to keep showing up. I see the tenderness you protected even when life tried to harden you. You were not weak for crying alone. You were not broken for feeling lonely. You were responding honestly to pain, and I was responding with presence. Even when you could not sense me, I was there. Steady, patient, attentive. This message exists now because timing is not random in my kingdom. I do not speak when it is convenient. I speak when it is necessary. I do not arrive early to impress or late to apologize. I arrive when hearts are ready and when moments can still be redeemed. And this moment right now is exactly that. Not a second sooner, not a moment later. It could not have come earlier because you were not yet who you needed to be to receive it. Earlier you were still learning how to endure. You were learning how to stand after loss, how to keep moving when answers did not come, how to survive disappointment without becoming cynical, how to hold on to hope when circumstances screamed otherwise. If I had spoken this message to you then, it would have sounded like noise. You might have heard the words, but you would not have understood their weight. You would have nodded in agreement without truly receiving. You would have applied it to your mind without letting it penetrate your heart. You were still becoming, you were still being shaped. Your heart was still learning how to listen without fear. Earlier you needed protection more than clarity. You needed shelter more than instruction. You needed to learn that you could survive pain without losing yourself, that you could walk through fire without being consumed, that you could be broken without being destroyed. So I waited, not because I was distant, but because I was careful. Love does not rush what can be harmed by premature revelation. Some truths require depth to hold them, and depth is formed through experience, through struggle, through quiet endurance. That is what you were building without realizing it. Every hard season was preparing you. Every unanswered question was deepening you. Every tear was softening soil that had become too hard. But this message also cannot come later. It cannot wait for a more comfortable season or a calmer moment. It cannot be postponed until you feel more ready or more worthy. If it came later, hesitation would harden into habit. Questions would turn into resignation. Doubt would solidify into unbelief. You would begin to accept things that were never meant to be permanent. You would settle for less than what I have prepared for you. You would make peace with loneliness instead of reaching for connection. You would normalize distance instead of pursuing intimacy. I will not allow that. I love you too much to let delay become your identity. I love you too much to watch you shrink into a smaller version of who you were created to be. There are moments when waiting protects and moments when waiting costs. This is one of those moments where delay would steal more than it saves. This is one of those moments where now matters, where hesitation has consequences, where responding today is not the same as responding tomorrow. That is why you feel the urgency pressing gently on your heart now. Not panic, not fear, but awareness. Something inside you knows this matters. You may not fully understand why yet, but you sense that this moment is different. That is alignment beginning. When heaven and your heart start to agree, clarity rises quietly. Divine timing is not about clocks and calendars. It is about readiness meeting purpose. And right now, those two things have met in you. This exact version of you had to exist for this message to land the way it needs to. Not the younger you who hoped easily but broke quickly. Not the older you who might grow cautious and closed. This you, the one who has felt pain but is still open. The one who has been disappointed but is still listening. The one who knows what it is to be tired yet still longing for something real. If you believe this timing is not coincidence, if you sense that you were meant to read these words today, say I believe in the comments below. What happens next will change everything. Not because life will suddenly become easy, not because all your problems will disappear overnight or your circumstances will magically transform, but because you will not walk through life the same way anymore. Something fundamental has shifted inside you. Awareness changes direction, truth changes posture, closeness changes courage. You will begin to see differently. See yourself differently. See your story differently. See your pain differently. You will respond differently to disappointment. Choose differently when faced with fear. Move differently through uncertainty. Because something within you has shifted, you have been seen, truly seen, not judged, not analyzed, not measured against some impossible standard, just seen. The real you, the struggling you, the trying you, the tired you, the hopeful you, all of it, every part. And in being seen, you have been validated. Your pain matters. Your tears matter. Your story matters. You matter. You have been heard, not with distracted ears or half attention, but with full presence. Every cry, every whisper, every silent prayer, every wordless groan, I heard it all, and I am still here, still close, still listening. You have been held. Even when you felt you were falling, you were being caught. Even when you felt you were drowning, you were being carried. Even when you felt you were breaking, you were being held together. My presence has been constant even when your awareness of it has not. My love has been steady even when your feelings have fluctuated. My commitment to you has never wavered even when your confidence has. And that changes everything. When you know you are seen, you stop hiding. When you know you are heard, you stop shrinking. When you know you are held, you stop striving to hold everything together on your own. You begin to breathe again, really breathe. Not shallow, anxious breaths, but deep, life-giving breaths. You begin to rest again. Not the kind of rest that comes from exhaustion, but the kind that comes from trust. You begin to hope again. Not naive hope that ignores reality, but grounded hope that sees difficulty and still believes in possibility. Stay here with me just a moment longer. Do not rush past this. Do not minimize what just happened. Do not tell yourself it was just words or emotional manipulation or temporary feelings. Something real occurred here, something significant. Heaven touched earth in your story today. Divine timing intersected with human readiness, and you will not be the same. You cannot be the same. Because once you have truly been seen by love, you cannot unsee yourself through those eyes. You are not alone. You never were. Even in your most isolated moments, even in your darkest nights, even when silence felt deafening and absence felt overwhelming. I was there. I am here. I will be there. Always. This is not the end of our conversation. This is the beginning. This is the restart.